Hi everyone, it's really great to be here talking to Jazz and Lewis about the whole issue of Black Lives Matter. Can I just say at this point that Jazz is extremely nervous, but she's got some opinions about it, and we just want to hear her views. And then we've got Lewis, who I think is born to sit in front of a camera and strut his stuff, and he's going to also comment on his opinions. And then we're just going to have a little conversation, because it's really important that we hear the voice of our young people. I was reading the other day that millennials celebrate diversity in all of its forms, something that perhaps some of us who are of an older persuasion perhaps need to learn some lessons from. So we just want to say thank you for coming. I really appreciate that. And I'm just going to hand over to Jazz, who's just going to read a statement that she's prepared.
Yeah, so I've written down my opinions on this because I kind of find it easier when I have something in front of me. But yeah, so I'm sure you're all aware of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I'm sure you're also aware that, sadly, white privilege is a real thing. And you may be thinking, well, I'm not racist, so there's not much I can do, which is not true. It is now 2020, and every day there are thousands of black people who feel anxious to leave their house because of the unpredictable nature of society. Many even fear for their lives. As a white female living in the UK, never once have I felt scared to leave my house because of the colour of my skin, and that is just one example of white privilege. So once again, many of you are probably still thinking that there's not much you can do to help because you're not racist. Well, let me tell you just a few things you can do to encourage change. We can use our white privilege to speak up against the injustice in society that is still very much alive today in 2020. Or if you hear a friend or a colleague at work being racist, even if it's a so-called joke, pull them up on it. Don't let these low-key racial slurs fly over your head, because normalising this type of behaviour just pushes us further and further away from equality. And one last thing, no one ever said that white lives don't matter, but in a time where our black brothers and sisters are the ones facing such inequality and discrimination, of course, black lives are going to be the focus. It says in Romans 10 verse 12 that there is no difference between Jew and Gentile, and that metaphorically represents the whole of God's kingdom. There is no difference between us. Whether we're black or white, we all bleed the same blood.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
Thank you.
I think we've got two potential TV stars here. So,
No.
Lewis.
Well, you see, like...
Follow that.
I can't. She had her whole phone and everything. I do not. Okay. Wow, on the spot now. I could see. Okay, mine's nowhere as long as Jasmine. Mine's kind of brief and short. My kind of thought on the whole Black Lives Matter, it's kind of funny, as in, I think the way that they're doing it is kind of a wrong way that they're doing it, as in, if they want to prove their point, I feel like they should not kind of like start rioting and start like attacking other shops, like innocent shops that have nothing to do with it. And they shouldn't really lump other people together, as in some people are racist, yes, but doesn't mean that every other white person or every other person is racist. I think like they shouldn't like do it like that and like force it on other people. Because so far, I believe some of my friends have gotten emails and texts about how they should repent on being white and being racist, and I don't think that's fair on them, because I know that my friends aren't racist and others aren't racist. So I feel like we shouldn't do that. What else? Yeah, that's what I have right now. I'll come back to
Can I just... that was great. I guess the question I just wanted to ask you both is, you know, we're a church, we love Jesus, and as you rightly pointed out, that there is no place for racism in the church in any shape or form. And I guess just to sort of ask you, what things do you think we as a church can do to demonstrate that everybody is equal, everybody has value, but also at this time we do need to really be clear and intentional in ensuring that the message that we're saying is that Black Lives Matter, because you know some of the complaints have been there's institutional racism. You know, we're all biased, and that's true. I think we are biased. You know, at school we mix with people who we get along with or whatever. I don't normally walk in a room and see colour, I see people, but I am drawn towards some people and pushed away from others just by thoughts in my head, so I am biased. I just want to just say to you guys, what are some of the things that you would love to see us as a church do to really speak out against any form of injustice, but particularly towards people who are not white English privileged?
Well, I would like to say, like, when I walk in, I've also spoken to my mum about this. When I walk into the church, I kind of see, like, everyone's kind of spread out. As in, on one side, you mostly see, like, white people and a few black, but mostly the black people all in the middle. And I feel like that shouldn't happen. I feel like we should all, like, get acquaintance and just, like, all sit next to each other so it's all mixed up. As in, no one's just, like, a bunch of black people in the middle. I think we should all be here and there, and just sit next to each other. So it shouldn't be, like, that kind of thing. Like, we walk into church, I'm going to sit in the middle because all my other black people sit in the middle, like, something like that,
Yeah.
I think as well, like, because obviously we all love God and we go to church, like, we have a role to kind of stand up, like, towards racism and stuff. So, like I said, like, in the speech, that if we hear people being racist, like, don't just ignore it. Like, we have a role, I think, to kind of stand up for other people. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's, I would just really endorse that if we see any form of racism, we should certainly stand up against it and call it out. Now, in a church environment, I would probably say you do that one-to-one, but just say to the person, did you realise that comment came across with racial edge or was unfair? I mean, I've been talking to someone who's non-white, and one of the comments was made about them and it was, as a black person, do you realise that? Well, actually, that's racist. Whereas if we'd said, do you realise that you, without mentioning colour, takes away the racial element. I often say that, white men can't dance. I can get away with it because I'm white. But if I was to turn around and say, black men can't dance, that would probably be unfair. So, how we speak is really, really key. And I just want to say, guys, if you ever hear me say anything with a racial undertones, I want you to shout me out, because we want to create an environment in New Life Church, Crouch Valley. That's a commitment of the leadership and the church, that everybody is equal and judged on their character rather than on the colour of their skin. We want to call out bad behaviour, but we do want to celebrate our diversity. So, if you was to just say one message to us as a church, because this is kind of like the closing of it, what would you want to say to New Life Church about Black Lives Matter? One, standout thing, Jazz.
I guess that we should celebrate different cultures, learn from the diversity within the church, and be interested in other people's cultures, because it's a good thing to have diversity within the church. So, yeah.
Louis?
Okay, I want to say the first thing that came to my head. Like Jasmine said, we all bleed the same blood. None of us bite. I mean. But yeah, as Jasmine said, if we all were to, get into each other's culture, learn more about each other and where we come from, I feel like it'll be easier to talk to one another, if that's, so.
Yeah. So guys, I just want to say thank you for coming. It's not a long thing. I hope you've enjoyed it. We want to get guys like you more in front of the camera. So, and one of the things that we want to just say is that you guys are just such an example to us of radical lovers of Jesus, and we just thank you for being part of New Life Church, willing to talk today, and thank you.
No problem. Thank you.